Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Truth Unlimited, and I'm Latrice McWilliams. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, today we are going to discuss a very sensitive topic. I know not just for me, but for you as well. We're going to discuss infertility. I kind of wanted to you know, move into the infertility aspect of health and women's health from my topic on last week as we talked about women's health and the different things that we go through as women. And one of those things is infertility, believe it or not. There's so many women that go through this, and I was one of them. I was one of them. I never thought it could happen to me, but that's life, right? A lot of things that happen to us, we just like, oh my God. But you know what? I'm glad that it did because it has taught me to be strong. It's taught me to be very grateful for life, for the things that I do have. I'm gonna get into it. This is a very sensitive topic, and I remember when I was deciding to start a podcast all those years ago. I said, "Oh God, I know eventually I'm gonna have to talk about this." And even right now, to be honest, it's very nerve-wracking for me. It is. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to relive those moments where I thought that I wasn't gonna make it mentally and emotionally. So let me just get into it. So I was about 12 years old when I went to the doctor after having so many horrible cycles and excess bleeding from my cycles and things like that. So my mom decided to take me to see a specialist. So I went to go see a specialist, and he just flat out told me, after he told me and diagnosed me with endometriosis, and I know some of you women know what that is. But I remember as a little girl, I was 12 years old. I'm like, my stomach looked like that. I had black spots all over, like my stomach. Like it was horrible. And just imagine how devastating it was as a child, a 12-year-old. So he told me flat out, "You're never gonna have any kids." That's what he told me. And I knew at an early age I wanted to have children. I knew that, very early on that I wanted to be a mom. And what a great mom I am. So shout out to all the amazing moms out there who really truly love your children and take care of your children. Because ain't nobody like mama. And so yeah, he told me that I wasn't gonna have any kids. I was like, oh my God, at 12 years old, you're gonna tell me I can't have kids? So I kind of put it in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, whatever. So fast forward, I got married, when I was very young, to my previous husband. And, maybe a year or two in, people will ask me all the time, when are you going to have kids? Or when are you going to get pregnant? And not knowing I was struggling with infertility. And people can be so insensitive. And a lot of times they don't even mean to. People just automatically think, well, as soon as you get married, you're going to have kids, right? And, people would ask me all the time. And like I said, not knowing what was going on with me. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to see someone else. I need to get another opinion. So I went to another specialist here in the Raleigh area. And at 24, I was diagnosed with PCOS. And I know a lot of women have that, and some women may not know what that is. It's polycystic ovary syndrome, where cysts will form and grow on your ovaries, which can cause infertility. And that's what I was diagnosed with. And the endometriosis, I outgrew that for some reason. I did. And I think it has a lot to do with exercise. And I was very active back in the day when I was younger. And I, watched what I ate and things like that. So it was easier for me to get rid of a lot of stuff. So, but yeah, they told me that I had polycystic ovary syndrome, and I started taking medicine to correct that problem because I wanted to have children, and I knew that it wasn't just going to happen to me the regular way, the other way, if you know what I mean, the natural way, the natural way. So I went to, several doctors, several appointments that I had. So fast forward, 2010, I got pregnant finally after, a few years of fertility treatments and things like that. And I got pregnant with not just one, not just two, but three babies. I got pregnant with triplets. Yeah, yeah, I got pregnant with triplets. And I found out at 4 months pregnant that they were all girls. I had already named them. As soon as I found out what I was having, I immediately named them. Yeah. And my a lot of people thought that I did IVF. I had someone ask me that, and it really upset me at that time. Oh, you did in vitro. I'm like, no, I didn't. And I had to kind of go into, I didn't have to, but I felt the need to kind of explain what I went through and the procedure and things like that. So what happened was I didn't have IVF. I didn't go through that. I didn't do any of that stuff. So what happens is, I'm not a doctor, but this is what they told me. So anytime you have infertility, you have fertility problems. Sometimes it can be for several reasons. Mine was because, for one, I had PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and then the other issue was that my cycles weren't regular. And some women grow up thinking that, oh, I didn't get my cycle this month. Oh, yay! Cause who wants that? Like, it was terrible for me. And I know you can relate to that too, women. But yeah, I my cycles weren't regular, so my doctor at the time, the specialist that I was seeing, she was amazing. Oh my gosh, she was truly amazing. A lot of times these doctors, they just kind of go into these fields just to be going into it and have absolutely no compassion. I can honestly say my specialist, oh, she was amazing and she cared. And when we women go through these things, we need somebody who cares. We need somebody who genuinely cared, and she did, which made the process so much easier. So with my cycles not being regular, I had to take medicine to make them regular. So once they were regular, I was able to ovulate, because once women know, we women know, once we get our cycles, especially if you're regular, that means you ovulate every month. I didn't ovulate every month because I was irregular. So once the doctor put me on medicine to help me ovulate, I was able to conceive, and that's how and plus my AMH levels were really, really high. So I got tested for all of that stuff. Like, they test you for everything when you're having fertility issues, because they want to make sure, they want to treat you the right way, and give you the right medication and things like that. I had to get needles stuck in my stomach every day. It was a process. It was a process. So yeah, so that worked. And I got pregnant with my triplets, and I found out at 4 months pregnant that they were all girls and named them immediately. And then at 5 months, I was 5 months pregnant. And people think, let me tell you something. This is true, so limited. I'm gonna tell you something. I am giving you my authentic self. This is me. There's no act. There's no script. Any of that. This is me. And let me tell you something. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've gotten better over the years accepting the fact that I lost my triplets. Does it get easier? It gets easier to move forward with your life. You don't forget. So let me back up. At 5 months pregnant, I was experiencing a lot of discomfort and pain. I mean, a lot of dysfunction in my body. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I would go to the doctor, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. I mean, a lot. So I remember one day, um, I went home to see my mom because we had a tragic death in the family. So my then husband and I went uh, down home to our hometown. And that night, and I was feeling weird. There was a lot of pressure at the bottom of my stomach. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I didn't really think too much of it because I was huge. I was 5 months pregnant with three babies inside of me, three human beings inside of me. So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's just the pressure from that. Little did I know. So I go and use the bathroom in the middle of the night. This was maybe like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I use the bathroom. I get up to, clean myself off and things like that. I stand up. I stand up. And boom, all this water just splashes out of my body. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? So I scream. And I'm like, oh my God, help me, help me, help me, help me. So I was taken to the hospital. The doctor's there. That wasn't my first choice, but I didn't have a choice at that time. So I went to that hospital and they just flat out told me, Latrice, you're going to lose your babies. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, how dare you tell me with no sensitivity at all? How dare you tell me that I'm going to lose my babies? So I'm like, okay. And I was like, there's nothing they could do. I went back to my mom, to my parents' house. And I tried to sleep. I was scared. Yeah, I went back. They sent me home. They sent me back home. They didn't keep me. They didn't rush me to Greenville Hospital. They didn't do any of that. So I went back to my parents' house. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Went back to my parents' house. Tried to sleep. I probably got 2 hours of sleep. So I went back home to Raleigh. Went straight to the hospital. They kind of told me the same thing, but they said it in a more loving, more caring, and more sensitive way. And they kept me in the hospital. So I stayed in the hospital from that Sunday to that, I think, Thursday. And it was horrible. It was the most horrible experience that I had in my life. To know that I'm going to lose my babies and I can still feel them moving inside of me. Yeah, it was horrible. So I stayed in the hospital for about a week, about 6 days. And the crazy part is, you guys, is that the sac that ruptured, that baby's heartbeat, I'm going to tell you her name. Her name was going to be Tamila. The other name was Meadow, and the other name was Lola. Tamila, Meadow, and Lola. Those were my triplets girl names, my babies. And her heartbeat was the strongest out of from Meadow and Lola's, which was odd to me. But let me tell you, about a month before I lost my babies, I had a dream. And in the dream, I couldn't really tell what was going on, but one of the babies were really red and just deformed. And then the other two babies were just fine, and they were just there. And I'm like, why? And I woke up that morning. I'm like, why did I dream that? Like, maybe God was showing me. Well, I didn't realize that till after the fact. So I'm in the hospital going through other things as well. And so they send me home. because Tamila's heartbeat was still very much strong. It was very strong. So I didn't understand. I'm like, could she make it? I don't know. I was young, so I was in my early 20s. I'm like, okay, maybe she'll live. And this can turn out totally different. So then they take me home. I go home. They send me home, actually. I go home, and like 2 days later, I'm like, something don't feel right. And so my then husband takes me back to the hospital. I'm so sorry, guys. And I said I wasn't going to do it. I go to the doctor, the hospital, and I look on the screen because they did an ultrasound. And my baby, Tamila, whose heartbeat was so strong, like for the whole week, her body was literally like this. Like she was gone. She died. And I'm trying to figure out, still to this day, I was trying to figure out, like, how in the world, when did this happen? What point in those couple days did I miss? Trying to catch the tears before they fall. I'm sorry. And so, they tell me, well, it's really nothing I could do. So they tell me it's nothing I could do. They could do because it was just nothing. So I went back home. So this is the second time I go back home. So 2 days, my baby girl was dead inside of me. So dead inside of me, I'm walking around like everything's okay, and it's not okay. God knows I really thought that I was ready to talk about this. So 2 days I was home, and I felt like something was wrong again. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. And so went back to the hospital. Because she was dead inside of me for 2 days, I had caught an infection. And the doctor told me, if I don't induce you right now, and if you don't have these babies right now, the other two, you would never be able to have children again or get pregnant again. I'm like, okay. So I go, and I'm like, okay. I didn't want to hear that, but I didn't have a choice. So they induced me. Hours later, I delivered. I'm such an ugly crier. I'm sorry. It still hurts after all these years. After about 5 or 6 hours, I pushed out my dead baby. I did. I pushed her out. And then Her body was already deteriorating because she was dead. And so, then my second baby, Meadow, as soon as she came out, she was already dead. And then Lola, Lola lived for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes after she came out, and she died in my arms. And she died in my arms. That was the most horrible thing that I experienced. Oh God, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. Let me get myself together. Whew. So Lola died in my arms, and that was that. I went home, and I'm like, what just happened to me? And when they brought all of my babies back to me, it was the same exact way in my dream. And I feel like God was showing me what was about to take place and what was about to happen. And he just wanted to prepare me. And I didn't realize that until after the fact. So, I'm so sorry, guys. I gotta get myself together. Whew. All right. So, I had them cremated. They were so little. I had them cremated. And I still have it. I'm never going to get rid of it. And I'm going to tell you how I know that I was getting stronger and stronger with the fact that they weren't here anymore. And I would cry and cry and cry. I'm like, God, why did this happen to me? Like, why did you take my babies? Why did you allow this to happen? You know how much I wanted to be a mom. You know how much I wanted this. Like, why? I'm going to tell you something. Maybe something would have happened to those girls along the way that God was shielding me from and also shielding them from. So a lot of times, let me tell you something. We may not understand why God does what he does and why he allows things to happen, but it's for our good. Because Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope in a future. So no telling what would have happened if I had my babies. What issues would have arisen if I would have had my babies. And I know when we're going through something and we're in pain and we don't understand, like, God, why? But I really wanted this. I know that's what we tell ourselves. I really want this, God. Why? It's because I have a plan. And God had a plan. God still has a plan. And last January, I kept my children's urn by my bedside every night for all those years. I did. Until last year, I said, you know what? I don't want to get rid of you. I don't want to get rid of it. I just need to move it to another place. And that's how I knew that I was growing and I was stronger. And I did. I did it. Well, fast forward. 2012. I know you're going to be like, oh my God, Latrice, well, I'm about to tell you. In 2012, I got pregnant with quadruplets. You heard me right. In 2012, I got pregnant with quads. And that was another experience that I don't wish on nobody. Because of my experience with losing the triplets, my doctor said we need to reduce. And I know what reduce means. I don't want to say the other word. But my doctor said I need you to reduce because I don't want you to go through what you went through with the triplets. So I said, okay. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. My doctor suggested that I just keep one. My then husband agreed. I disagreed. And I said, no, let's reduce to 2. And that's exactly what I did. I thought about keeping all of them. But because when you go through infertility, you have a lot of exams and all that stuff. So, and you go through a lot of testing. And one of my baby's bowels was outside of its body. So the doctor told me eventually, probably in about 3 weeks from it, because I was 11 weeks at the time when I had this procedure where I reduced to 2 and the procedure, and I was awake. So I felt everything. Where they went in, stuck a needle through my stomach into my children's heart to stop them from breathing. Yeah. And I saw the whole devastation all over again. And so I had that procedure at 11 weeks pregnant with the quads where I had to reduce, and I reduced. And guess what? God allowed me to carry my twins full term, Leah and TJ. My world. If you know, you know. If you know me, you know that those two are my world. The love that I have for them, I can't even explain it. I don't know, you're like, yeah, Latrice, after what you've gone through, I don't blame you. Yeah. But God allowed me to carry them full term. And although I had complications, everything was everything. Everything turned out really good. And they were healthy and strong. I was healthy and strong, although I almost died. A lot of people don't know that. Well, yeah. My mom thought I was leaving away from here. I literally almost died. But God had a plan. He had a plan. And I'm so grateful that He spared my life. I'm so grateful that He allowed me to carry my babies. My boo-boos is what I call them. They don't like it now because they're a little older. They're 11 now. And but my boo-boos, God allowed me to carry them full term. And I'm so grateful to God for that. And I remember before I started this process of trying to get pregnant again after losing the triplets, I told one of my friends, I said, if this don't happen this time, I'm not trying no more. I said, God, if this don't happen, I'm done. And I was so serious about that. But God turned that thing around. And my faith was tested. Because I know God was like, okay, you telling me you done. What if I'm not done? So my faith was tested, and God got the glory. Yes, he did, y'all. He got the glory. He did. He gets the glory. He gets the glory. And I'm going to share something with you guys. What causes infertility? I know you're like, Latrice, what causes infertility? Well, I'm going to give you a few things that causes infertility. Cervical mucus issues, like not having enough for ovulation, like I had mentioned a little while ago, where women who have regular cycles, you ovulate each month, and then we get that little sticky that stuff, that mucus stuff. That helps us get pregnant. It helps us conceive. Okay, endometriosis, which I talked about early on, and that's something that's a major problem, a major health issue with the women who are trying to get pregnant. And like I said, I was diagnosed with endometriosis at 12, but for some reason that didn't carry on. It didn't last long for me. And I think, like I said, it's because I exercised a lot back then. I was very active, and I was very cautious of what I was eating too. And then damage to the fallopian tube, say it's like scarring and things like that caused by infections. Women, be safe. Get yourself together. Like, you could go through some crazy stuff because you ain't taking care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Please, take care of yourself. Poor nutrition. Eat healthy. If you're trying to get pregnant, take your vitamins, like I discussed in last week's episode of Truth Unlimited. Take your vitamins. Eat right. It's okay to eat right. It really is. It can save your life and make everything else in your body work like it's supposed to. Another cause of infertility is polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, what I had. And because of all the issues that I've had, being remarried and thinking about having more children, I definitely did think about having more children. And then I'm like, okay, well, the thought of losing another child, I didn't want to bear that. But I made the decision to have a hysterectomy last year. That was very hard for me. And my husband, bless his heart, let me tell you something. If I can't even tell you how horrible it feels at times to know that I cannot have another child. Yeah, it's not an issue in our marriage. No, it's not. He understood why I had to make that decision. But like literally immediately after I had the surgery, I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? What did I do? I had to do it. But was there other ways? Was there treatments that I could have went under or went through just so that I can give my husband a baby? Yeah, it probably was. But in my mind, I was scared that I would lose another child, and I couldn't bear that again. And he understood that. And then another one is uterine fibroids. Oh, those things vary in size, and that can be another issue. And then sometimes they are non-cancerous, but they just cause a lot of blockage in your uterus, and it can cause you to struggle getting pregnant. You can get them removed surgically and things like that. I never had that done. Never had fibroids. Like I just said, I had PCOS, what cysts on my ovaries would form and things like that. So, but yeah, those are, the most common causes of infertility. And I'm going to leave some scriptures with you guys. Psalm 71:21, where it says, you will restore me to even greater honor and comfort me once again. God did just that. He comforted me when I went through my fertility issues, when I lost my children. I lost 5 babies. I would have had 7 kids. Oh my God, I would have had a show. Y'all would have seen me on Lifetime. I don't know what I would have named it back then, but I would have had a show, trust me. Oh, sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from crying. And then another scripture I want to leave is Hebrews 11:1. And it says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. So even though I couldn't see that I would carry my twins full term because of everything that was going on and how I was so devastated about losing my triplets. And then even after that, and when I had to reduce the two, and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to carry? I still had to have faith in God and trust Him, because He will give you the desires of your heart. He will. He will give you the desires of your heart. Keep your eyes stayed on Christ. Keep your mind stayed on Him, and He will keep you in perfect peace, even when you're going through something that you feel like, oh my God, where is this coming from? I ain't see that coming. Well, a lot of times in life, you're not going to see it coming. But as believers, you have to be able to trust God even when you don't understand, because He has a plan, and that plan is perfect because He loves you that much, and He won't put no more on you than you can bear. Some women probably wouldn't have been able to deal with what I've gone through, but He knew that I could. He knew that I can do that I could handle it, and I love Him for that. He knew that I can handle this. Yeah, it hurts, but He knew. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was tough to discuss this, but thank you.